Hey, alright, today I've decided to do leaders. Before I start talking about leaders though, I have no real plan on what order to progress through everything with. So if you have something that you would like me to talk about or you need to know more information on, just, I don't know, let me know in the Discord or on YouTube, I suppose, in the comment. Leave a comment. Ha! Never thought I'd be saying that. Yeah, just let me know, and I'll do that next, or in some sort of order of comments if there's multiple. But anyway, leaders. Now, it's pretty simple. Basically, if you're running witches and Alice is fire, you're gonna want solar. Items on solar though don't really matter at all. She does no damage. You don't need quad cooldown on her because her meteor does no damage. If you buff her with fire, fire elemental, she still doesn't do much damage. So really what I would say is best on her is probably knockback, leader defense, but you could run pretty much anything and leader defense and you'd get a pretty comparable result. You're not going to notice much knockback from her. You're also going to have to level her way more than I have to keep her alive, even for a tenth of your infinite run, because they die. They all die, and military band male, which is the gold one actually. Let's find it. That also heals the leader for 75% HP. It is okay, and I've used it for a couple of 100 billion infinite runs, but it's really not as good as letting your leader die and using Smith in its place. But again, it really depends on your playstyle. You can always get to, like, I can get to 200 billion with 0 still at full health and my castle fine. Some runs 0 will die at like 16 billion damage done. Now for Edward, if you want to use Edward, which can be okay because of summoned units, you could be running orcs, angels and witches, or some combination of them, and they're not all fire element. If they're all fire element, use solar, but otherwise you can use Edward to buff them. He has a lot of health. That doesn't really do anything because he's also melee, so he runs straight to the front line of the mobs and takes a lot of damage. So items for him, you're going to want cooldown, and leader defense, just because his buff is pretty significant actually for summoned units. 25% extra damage for 5 seconds. You put quad 40% cooldown on him, and he's what, 9.6 seconds or something? Every 9.6 seconds, so you got like 4 to 5 seconds of downtime, and 5 seconds of a quarter extra damage, which is pretty good. Now Tony, honestly, I wouldn't waste any gold leveling him. I know I have, and I regret that deeply, but I mean, unless you need the extra 19 crystals, which I can't think of a single situation where you would, he's useless. He doesn't do enough damage, even if you stack damage items. If you stack quad damage items on him, he's still not going to do enough for 10% of the gold he does. 10% of the damage he does as gold. I mean, what? That's 625 gold per hit. That might be really, really good at wave 1000, but at wave 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, it's negligible. So I mean, he came out after I started. Honestly, he could be worth using at the start for the first, say, few thousand waves, but after that, you're you're better off to swap him out, and I wouldn't level him too much past that. If he can stay alive for a wave, that's all you need. I wouldn't level him. Sarah's very good. Unfortunately, the poison elemental damage buff isn't that good. I mean, you could run orcs, I suppose. You could run a couple poison witches, you know, poison slingers, voodoo. But they're not, none of those are really good units to run. The good thing about Sarah is that she benefits from the multi-shot, the +1 arrow bonus. So if you level her up to say, I don't know, 7, 8,000, 9,000, she actually does a significant amount of damage as a hero. As a leader, her secondary attack is quite strong, and she's a beast, you know. But again, she's gonna die because you can't use leader defense and +1 arrow, and it's very expensive. And at the moment, poison's not really an element worth investing too heavily in. Maybe in the future there'll be a couple poison tweaks that will bring out Sarah a little bit, but at the moment I wouldn't personally bother. So this leaves Zero and Thor, which are basically Solar, Zero and Thor are your only legitimate options here. And Thor's sort of a little bit situational as well. See, the +2 chain, as far as I'm aware, still works for everything. So if I have +2 chain on this, I've also got +2 chain on my Lightning Tower too. And if I had Lightning Wizard, he'd have +2 chain. Which means overall, if you stack that, you can get quite a lot of auto attacks out, and Thor will do a lot of damage. You know, if you're low level, you can put gold on hit on them, and it'll get you quite a bit of gold or knockback. Thor's quite good with knockback items. Ultimately though, it does less damage than the Zero Lightning Source sort of meta that we're in at the moment. But it is still, it is viable to some degree. I mean, I could probably use it now and it would be okay, but it's not comparable to Zero, which is the last one. Basically what you're going to want with Zero for his items is, I forgot to mention items for Thor, sorry, we'll go back to that quickly. You are going to want Chain Lightning. Whether you want 2 lots of Chain Lightning or you want Chain Lightning leader defense is entirely up to you. Remember, he is sort of like up semi-melee, I'm going to say. He doesn't sit quite as far back as some others. And obviously lightning damage. His Thunderstorm does sweet fuck all. There's no point stacking cooldown for it. Alright, back to Zero. The best leader, in my opinion. The only really, really good leader. Just because of this. Okay, 10% additional damage to slowed monsters. So you can run Ice Bow, you can run Ice Tower, or Frost Tower, whatever it's called. You can run Ice Wizard, and the auto attacks of those things all slow mobs, which means they take 10% additional damage from everything else, regardless of whether, you know, the other thing slows or not. It does 10% more damage. Additionally, every mine says 14.2 seconds. You can have it at higher or lower depending on what items you got. I think I've swapped out a second cooldown here for some leader defense just to keep him alive. That's actually a terrible item. But yeah, so slows monsters and 25% of his damage. It's not total damage, so 25% of 86,000 is what hits them when they slow, and that happens every 14.2 seconds for me. Now the reason the Zero's sort of so good is because he interacts very well with other heroes. You know, so you can run your Ice Bow, you can run, I'm rehashing a bit, but it's so I don't get asked in the Discord. You can run Frost Owl, you can run this dude. And yeah, this will do it. And it's not super noticeable slow at 2x speed, but it is very noticeable damage increase. You take him away and you will notice. If I keep Zero alive, I tend to do 20 to 30% longer runs than when Zero dies early on. At this point, if he dies at 20, 30 billion, I just stop and I'll start again another day. Just because he does. He brings so much, I mean, the 10% total damage buff is way more than 10%. I'm gonna die, so I thought I'd stop. Honestly though, if you're running Fire Witches, I'm gonna say go with Solar. Just because it's a 5% flat fire buff. If you've got a very fire-centric build, you might as well buff fire damage, if you can run Flame Bow if you want. Not that I would, I'd run Cursed Blade, because it's better. 220% damage every hit is better than 160% damage, But yeah, Sol is good for a witch build, and Thor is good if you want lots of gold on hit early on, and you're not going to use Tony. Zero is still the king though, he is just mathematically great. Anyway, I think that's it. So yeah, if you want to see something in particular, just leave us a comment or message me in the Discord. In general chat, don't private message me, that's annoying. And I'll just make that video probably tomorrow or the next day or something like that. Because honestly, there's a lot to talk about, and I have no particular direction to go in. I don't know what people need to know, what people want to know more. I've sort of hashed that out a little bit in the gold farming build and witches, which were the two things I get asked about most. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully it's helped you pick a decent leader or change leader or slightly do better in Infinite, which is after all the goal. Catch you later.